Hi, this is Luann from Rock and Book Reviews, and I'm so happy to be here with Peggy Wirgau. Peggy, in 2012, on the 100th anniversary of the sinking of the Titanic, you were drawn to a passenger list with a 12-year-old girl and her mother family on board. Can you tell us about that?
Well, thanks for having me, Luann. I was looking at the passenger list on the Titanic in 2012 because a friend of mine had written a Titanic story and was launching her book on a Facebook party, and we were talking about passengers and so forth. And so as I was reading about these people, I noticed that this girl was first of all from Michigan, where I'm from, and she was on her way from India to Michigan in second class with her mom and her brother and sister. I read a little about her and found out that she was separated from her family at the time of when they loaded the lifeboats. And yet, even though she was in a lifeboat full of strangers, she was able to actually do some pretty heroic things and help of her fellow passengers there in the lifeboat. So as I read more,
what type of things?
Well, she had a handkerchief in her pocket that her father had given her when she left India because he couldn't leave. He had to stay and run an orphanage. They were missionaries, and she had it in her pocket. And there was someone that had cut their finger, and she passed the handkerchief to them and let them use it. And she had blankets. She had been sent back down to the cabin by her mother while they waited for the lifeboats to get blankets. And when she came back up, they were already getting in a boat, her mother and her siblings. So she still had these blankets. So she shared them with people that didn't have any, and she comforted a woman that couldn't even speak English, and she was 12. And I thought,
amazing.
What kind of a little girl could, I don't know if I could do anything like that, faced with this incredible tragedy occurring and nobody knew what was going to happen. And so as I read more, I just wanted to, understand what she was like and what her story was, and I thought it would make a great book. So
did you have to do a lot of research then?
I did. I had to know more about the Titanic and about the sinking. I had to know about her and her family and why they were in India and why they were on the way to America. I wanted to understand the culture in India and what missionaries did and what travel was like then, because they had to travel by train to get on a ship and then sail for 4 weeks before they got to England and board the Titanic. So a lot of research, and I wanted to get the timing right and the weather right, and whatever I could learn about what it was really like for her and for as many people as I could on board.
In getting published, you didn't have an easy journey. Tell us a little bit about what you went through and how come you didn't get so discouraged and say, forget it.
Well, I came close. It's natural. It was a long time. I wrote for a long time and thought I had a good story. I did, but it just wasn't ready when I started to submit it. And that's what I was finding out from a lot of the replies and, getting a lot of rejections. And then finally contacted an acquisitions editor that I'd met at a conference, and we started working on it together, and she helped me edit it more and also start submitting it to other publishers. And I did some more edits, and it kept improving, but still getting rejections, and it just took a lot of time. to find that one publisher that would be excited about it and want to make it the best book and, great cover and so forth. It was worth waiting for, but had I known, it would take that long. Yeah, I don't know what else I would, what I would have done. But in that time, I was able to meet a lot of people that were connected with the Titanic because I started a blog and heard from relatives of passengers and people who had helped build the ship. They reached out to me, and then I even met a friend of Ruth Becker who became friends with her later years, and he was able to share some stories with me. So all of that was great, and it helped me get there, get me through the waiting period.
That's pretty amazing to find someone, that actually knew somebody.
It was, yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. And I get a lot of these questions on how do I pick a good editor and publicist and so forth. How does one go about finding a good editor?
Sometimes a person wants to go with, someone they can afford, obviously. But I think they need to ask around, ask other writers and authors and get their opinions and talk to editors and see what kind of work they do and figure out what sort of an edit you need, whether it's a big developmental edit or if you really just want to focus on grammar and punctuation and so forth. I know you get what you pay for usually. With me, it was this roundabout way. I met this acquisitions editor, and eventually she helped me edit it myself with, working with her. And it was just a lot of give and take. And, even though she didn't know a lot about the Titanic and didn't know anything about Ruth Becker, she was able to say, I want to know more here. I want to feel this. I want to taste it. It helped me see how I could go deeper and really bring those things out in the story.
I find that's a problem with a lot of writers. They need more editors like that because I find that so often there's a really good storyline, but you don't feel connected to it. That's really important.
I think it definitely takes more than one person to write a good story, get others' input. And, it's not always right. Doesn't feel right to the author, but maybe there's something about it that you can take from it.
My husband and I are opposites, and he is extremely organized, systematic, and cut and dry. Of course, he's not very right-brained. He doesn't like music and art and all these. Okay. He's an extremely good leader. And with me, I'm kind of haphazard in a lot of things. And he has helped me so much. Like you said, he's made criticisms of what he thinks I should do different. And a lot of his counsel is good, except it's not my personality. And so I have to feel like I'm into it. And so but I have been able to benefit from him because I take what he says and I apply it to me. And I'm sure you do the same as a writer.
Yeah, I understand that. That makes sense.
In a roundabout way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can totally get where you're coming from. Okay. And the stars in April, tell us a little about it.
Well, it begins with Ruth Becker, 12 years old, on the train, about to leave her home. And she's not at all happy about it. She was born in India and didn't want to make this journey, especially when her father wasn't able to go. And she's, blaming her parents. She's blaming her 2-year-old brother because he's sick and that's why they're going to America. This really happened. Richard, 2 years old, was chronically ill and the doctors there in India just couldn't help him. And they finally told Ruth's mother that you really need to take him to America. and get them to the doctors there. And so that's why they're going, and they're going to live with her grandparents until her father can come. So the book follows her on this long, long journey, and lots of action and a lot of changes she goes through. And then it goes through their rescue after they're in the lifeboats.
Did a fantastic job writing it, because it was very touching, and I just totally enjoyed it.
Thank you.
And it's informative. I thought I had known quite a bit about the Titanic, but I learned some things I didn't know before. So there was a sold out expedition of the Titanic.
It's gone way up now.
$105,000 and $129. And how do you come to that kind of a bizarre figure?
I don't know how they got that amount, but it's now $250,000 to go on Ocean Gate expeditions. They're going this summer. I think they've gone every summer to the wreck site for a few years now. They're studying the deterioration of the wreck, and they're filming and so forth. And anyone can go, but you have to be willing to work and be okay with climbing ladders, it says, and being in tight spaces and living on board a working vessel. And there are a lot of people who really want to go. It's not something that I would be willing to do, but
me neither. I get
really exciting, I guess.
It blows my mind that they would even spend $105,129, and I can't imagine paying that much, but each to their own. So anyhow, why do you think there's still so much interest after well over 100 years in the Titanic sinking?
Yeah, it's going to be 110 years this April since the Titanic sank, and people are still so fascinated with it. And I think, you know, the movies, the museums have helped contribute to that. But I think we're just so fascinated with the people that were on board, and you know, the fact that it was this maiden voyage, and some of the richest people in the world were on board, and also a large number of immigrants that were coming to America with very little, you know, from all walks of life. And then such a tragedy to have this, you know, supposedly unsinkable ship hit an iceberg and go down in 2 hours, and not enough lifeboats. I mean, the whole story, it's just incredible. And, you know, the acts of heroism by so many that gave up their seats because there just wasn't enough room for everyone.
Fortunately, the majority of the loss was with the persons in the lowest
Third class. Yes.
That is so sad. Yeah, it's I've totally been fascinated with it for years, especially because I love Unsinkable Molly Brown. She was on the Titanic.
Yeah.
And then you're going to be having special celebration on your blog, right? For the 110th anniversary?
I have a few things planned. I've got a lot of book signings and probably a Facebook event coming up. But the book just was awarded the SCWC Notable Book Award for children and young adults. So
wonderful.
I'm excited about that. And also the audiobook SELA Award finalist in the audiobook category. So
that's
excited
great
about that. So I'm hoping.
What's your next big project then?
I'm writing another historical fiction. It's also based on a true story, but it's based in New York City during the American Revolution. And it's about the female member of George Washington's, some people have heard of the Culper Ring. There was one female member.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah,
That's great.
so I'm writing about her.
So when do you expect that to come forth?
I do not know. It's still in the draft stages, and that is a lot of research.
Oh, I can imagine. I didn't even know she existed. So, well, it's been wonderful talking with you. Is there any final things you'd like to add before we close?
Just that there's a giveaway. This is The Stars in April. It comes in hardcover and paperback and audiobook and Kindle. I hope all of your viewers will take a look at it and enter the giveaway.
US, Canada. That's great. And thank you so much. It's been a delight. And when you get your new book, we'll have to do this again.
Oh, thank you, Luann. Thanks so much.
And best of luck, because it is an amazing book. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Okay. And we hope that all of you will search the universe through books. Bye now.
Bye-bye.